Okay, with season 2.5 out for a little bit, me having at least a few games under my belt, I figure I'd just give my thoughts on it for people. So, after having some time to like fully test out like the Psylocke nerfs and examine some of the new team ups, I think overall like it's been fine. I think the reaction that people had was a bit too extreme. The Psylocke nerfs, first and foremost, they feel fine. I think that there are a lot less lucky accidental picks that I'm getting from hitting my right click, which I think is probably a good thing. She's still very strong. She's still very viable. There's nothing stopping you from being good with Psylocke still. The what made Psylocke strong wasn't her damage, it was her mobility, right? And her mobility is still the same. The cloak being on a shorter timer means that now you can't just like use it to like get to a spot really quickly. You have to kind of really, really time it to engage it. Before, I will say that I got to use it a lot more freely because of how long it lasted, and I just can't do that anymore, which is fine. Like now it's just the game went from like an easy mode to a hard mode. And I used to play all the Devil May Cry games on Dante Must Die mode. So, giving me something that's a slightly more challenging is not going to stop me from, playing my favorite hero. Like I play Psylocke because I like the way that she feels. Games to me are all about game feel and how it flows. And Psylocke has a really nice flow. If they ever did something to change the way that her dash felt and made it feel clunky, then I would stop playing her. But taking away some of my damage is not enough to stop me from playing Psylocke. And a lot of times too, you're not even really going for like one-shot kills, like I've said in videos before. One-shot kills are very inconsistent, and a lot of times with healing and everything else coming out, what you're trying to do is do a bunch of damage and get out safely, and somebody else a lot of times does a lot of the follow-up damage. So that little bit of damage and a little bit of damage nerf, a lot of people see it, and there's a big extreme reaction of just like, oh, they're nerfing my favorite hero, like this is terrible. But all in all, if it makes the game healthier and it makes it better for other players, then I think it's okay. And ultimately that's what I want more than anything, because like if people leave because they're too frustrated with dive and they don't really know what to do against it, then uh that's not good for the longevity of the game anyway. So a slight nerf is fine with me, and all the other dive heroes seem like they got pretty decent nerfs. I don't know, I don't play Iron Fist, so I can't really comment on that. He might have gotten hit kind of hard, um but overall everything feels different for sure. It doesn't feel as frustrating to go against. It still feels like a challenge though. And I know a lot of people are talking about how like right now this is like the flyer meta, right? And that everybody is um everybody's playing flyers and it's not fun for tanks. But to be honest, I haven't really experienced that. Like in a lot of my games, I don't see that many flyers. And I know a lot of times we ban Storm out, but that's just because of the Jeff NATO team up. But I don't generally see a lot of flyers. I still see people playing the heroes that they just like to play. I see Mr. Fantastic and Bucky and Magic and Hela. And, for the most part, all of these characters, going up against Hela, like, yeah, she got 2 extra shots, but I'm still playing against her the same. I'm still taking cover. I don't really feel like it's too oppressive. The only things that are super oppressive that I'm not a huge fan of is the Hawkeye Luna team up. Um, Being able to shoot through walls is a terrible, terrible design decision. Because the one thing that you should be able to say in a shooter is, what could I do better? And the answer is always positioning. Because the one thing that should always be consistent is that, walls and environments that can't be destroyed should be safe, right? I should be able to stand behind a wall and know that I'm safe from enemy attacks. That's the one consistent thing that we all have to play around, which is why a lot of my videos are all about positioning, right? So when they create an ability in which cover doesn't matter, I think that breaks a lot of things. That's not a good idea. I think that there's lots of other ways you can make a team up that doesn't involve shooting through walls. And, people are shooting through walls from spawn, which is absolutely wild. I know that I saw like the patch notes, they're nerfing it, but still the core mechanic behind it of shooting through walls is the problem. Like that's not okay. So I ban Hawkeye a lot of the times because I know he's popular right now. I don't want to deal with being one shot. I don't want to deal with my teammates being one shot. I feel like I could play against Hawkeye. I don't trust my teammates to play well against Hawkeye. So I ban him outright because of the team up and because of the one shot capability. Um, The Jeff NATO, I also banned Storm because of that. Uh, I do that because of the fact that there's not really a whole lot of counterplay to it. I can deal with it with Psylocke, but I can't always play Psylocke. And even then, sometimes when I play Psylocke and I try to counter the ult with it, sometimes people walk away from my ult and make it worse. But I also heard that if you use your Captain America ult and you get swallowed up, your Captain America ult is still running, so it actually keeps everyone alive inside of Jeff NATO. Do what you will with that information. But outside of that, there's not really a whole lot of uh, counterplay to that, which is also another problem. And the other team up I don't like is the Rocket Penny team up. If you are playing someone like Magic, a melee character that has to get up close, what they did essentially is they took what Penny was already doing really well, and then they gave her more of it. So basically, it means that she Penny is a counter to someone like Magic or some melee hero already, but then it turns from a sort of soft counter into a super hard counter, right? When you have that much area denied from like melee heroes, and you don't have other areas you can go to, it just doesn't provide a lot of counterplay. And that's always my big issue with anything in hero shooters is my question is always, what is the counterplay, right? If the counterplay isn't obvious and it isn't clear, then I'm not sure it's a very good ability. And when giving a team up, it would have been nice if they gave her something different to her kit, something to add, not just two different nests, so that way she could do more of what she already does, right? Maybe even something to help her deal with her counters, right? Something to some sort of shield, or some different tool. I don't know, but just not two nests, because not she already does it. It'd be the same as if like, oh, here are these bombs that explode when people walk across them, and it's just like, here's another bomb that explodes when you walk across it, and it's just like, why would you give me more of the same thing, right? Why not provide me with a more unique tool? Uh, because yeah, this basically, as soon as you see this team up, it's just like, well, I guess I just can't play the melee heroes. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some way to play around it that I just haven't discovered yet. I've still been learning Magic, so I'm still trying to figure it out. But it just seems like giving her more of what she already does well is kind of like the Overwatch 2 mistake, where instead of buffing ways to counterplay their counters, they just buffed what they already did better. So that made counter picking even more viable. And that's what I'm afraid of. Like, as soon as I can't get around Magic, or as soon as I can't get around Penny as Magic, then I just switch to a hit scan like Hella and, counter her instead. And I don't believe that counter picking should be the solution. I know a lot of people think that in hero shooters, like the solution is to counter pick. Uh, it's not. Counter picking is helpful. Changing your strategy and being able to still play around your counters should matter. I saw a Spider-Man go up against me when I was playing Namor, and he was able to avoid all the squids, still provide a lot of pressure, and play around the fact that Namor is supposed to counter him. This Spider-Man had no trouble at all dealing with me, and that to me is someone who learned how to get around their counter, and just by through the sheer use of their mechanics and playing well, uh, they didn't let that stop them. And to me, that's really good game design. It means that it's possible to play around them without having to counterpick. And that's ultimately what I want to see. So, when giving Penny something that just denies, all you're trying to do is basically, say like, hey, play Penny. And if someone's on Magic, you force them off of Magic, and they force onto Hello, which then is going to force Penny off of Penny and onto something else. And counter swapping is just not the way. You want to make sure that even when you have a counter, you have solutions and things you can do around the counter. That ultimately is what makes hero shooters really good, and what makes them fun is understanding what the counters to each of these abilities are, what the counters to the heroes are, whether it be positioning or timing, things like that. It's also the reason why support ults in this game are so frustrating, because there's not counterplay really to them. Yeah, you can play Magneto and hopefully one shot of support, maybe not consistently, or you can play Iron Man and maybe get a one shot off, but that's kind of it, right? There's not really anybody else that can do anything. So what support ults do is they basically just say you're not allowed to play the game for 10, 12, 8 seconds, whatever it is. And that's not fun for players, right? Like there's no counterplay. So the solution, when the answer to that is just don't play and give up space, it's not as fun. Whereas like if you have someone like Bucky, for instance, Bucky's ult is really, really good, but it's also really, really dangerous because he has to get himself in there. And if he gets resets, he can keep getting resets. However, he still has to put himself into a position where he might die as well. Uh, and that to me is a good ultimate, right? Same for like Psylocke. Psylocke's ult, I know for like a lot of low elo players, it seems really powerful. But the higher up you climb, the more you realize how many different counters there are to it. You can go invis and you can't get targeted by it. You can use cloak fade a lot of times to get out of it. More people can stand in it, and it does is less effective. You know, mobility gets you out of it. There's a lot of different ways around it, and that's what I like about it is that it is a powerful ult when timed correctly and when you're tracking the right resources. But it's not so oppressive that it's just totally busted. Right? It's powerful when used at the right time, but it could also be totally useless. And that's what I like to see from an ult. Like, you know, there's a certain skill expression from that support ults just don't have. Support ults just, you press Q and you're guaranteed a lot of free value, so much so that when your supports don't ult, it's basically like you lose the fight. The fights are how supports win games is dictated by how well they use their ultimates. And I don't like that. I want supports to have more abilities that allow them to have more skill expression through the neutral game, but also have more skill expression through their ultimates, which isn't just, oh, I press button and I deny better than you do. I want them to have something like Bucky's ult, where I press a button and I am now amplified. I have more healing potential. I have more damage potential. I am now stronger, but there's still counterplay. There's still a margin for error. I can still mess it up. My teammates, you know, I can still die in this state. Like, there's a lot of ways that people could make ultimates for supports better. And unfortunately, I just don't know why Overwatch and Marvel Rivals are so bad at designing support ultimates. But literally designing a support ultimate where I press Q and you're not allowed to play is just not a good ultimate, right? Like a good one, for instance, from like Overwatch is Ana's ult. It amplifies someone. It does. It can be messed up. You can be killed accidentally while you're using it and have it be wasted. You could accidentally ult the wrong person, and it's all about how you use it and the timing. And even then, it amplifies someone. It gives them stronger stats, but it doesn't mean and guarantee free value. And there's ways to counter it with other ults. Like lots of other ults can counter it. You know, and you just don't really have a lot of ults like that in Marvel Rivals. I think like Ultron, for instance, is a really good support ultimate. It's powerful. It can help secure kills, but it can also help, you know, heal your teammates, giving you great player choice, skill expression in that instance. You know, how you use it is super important. So stuff like that is what I want to see more of. I would like them, you know, to really see the longevity of this game and have it do better. I want to see them rework, Cloak and Dagger ult, or, you know, Invisible Woman ult, or Luna ult, and see if we can't get something better, because, you know, making Rocket's ult more like the rest of theirs was also not really the play. I don't really agree with that one. You know, but at least at the very least, like, Rocket's ult can be destroyed, so there's options of counterplay around it, whereas, you know, so he can mess it up, right? But with like Luna, there's no messing up. You just press the button and you get a lot of free value, right? That is what I'm not a fan of. So yeah, I'd like to see that sort of stuff be changed. I would like to see no more supports have a simple press Q, everybody's healed button. I don't want to see that ever again. And yeah, I mean, overall though, I think, like, in terms of like balance, I think that the game is actually in a pretty decent, healthy state. I see a lot of people complain, and I don't see the same things that they do. And I think a lot of it is just not knowing how to fully adapt or play around things. I know I see a lot of people online who are very inconsistent, right? Like when they post stuff to Reddit and they're like, "Oh, what more could I do?" I'm like, look at my match history, and a lot of times I see it's just like either they're 30-4 or they're, you know, 15-17, right? Like vastly, wildly different ranges. And I think what happens is a lot of times, like as seasons changes, you know, people aren't adapting to the new changes with it. And if you're unable to adapt and you're unable to play around the different changes, it's going to be a very difficult game. But to me, you know, all the stuff that I teach, the macro stuff, the you know, the core fundamentals, that is always the same. No matter what's strong at the time, it doesn't matter. I play the heroes that I
An
play,
enemy has arrived.
and whether they're strong or they're weak, I'm going to play them. I play Captain America when he was considered weak and I was doing well. I play Captain America when he was strong and I was doing well. I've played Psylocke from the very beginning until now. I'm still winning. I'm still doing well. And you know, I picked up Magic again. And I started playing her, and I was playing her on the alt account, and I was still doing well with her. It's all about how you play these heroes, right? And you know, if there's more flyers, suddenly you need to position differently. You need to start doing things a bit differently. But it's not like, oh, if it's a flyer meta, then you absolutely cannot play these heroes. It means you have to start changing your strategy. You need to start adapting to your new, your new situation. And because you have things like hero bans, you can sort of cater your experience. You can try and get bans in there that might help you out a bit more. I think I might experimenting a bit as Magic
The enemy
to
has arrived.
to start banning Penny a bit more, so that way I can actually play without being zoned out entirely from all of my games. But yeah, uh the only other thing I wanted to give some slight commentary on was the toxicity in Marvel Rivals. I think that there is a lot of toxicity in general in Marvel Rivals,
Step aside.
um but also in hero shooters in general. Hero shooters are not like Call of Duty or other games where your KD ratio matters a lot more, right? Uh Kills don't matter as much as people think in uh in hero shooters, right? If you watch my streams, you've watched me play, even if you watched me play last night, you notice that like in my match history, I don't have a whole lot of MVPs or SVPs, right? But I have a lot of wins. And that to me is how people get confused, because then they post stuff online. Look how many MVPs and SVPs I have, because it's just 50-50. I just lose a bunch. It's like, right. If you're farming stats, you're probably
Step
not being
aside.
super effective for what your team needs, right? There's times where I would be getting MVP and I'd be ace on my team, but I'd be super pressured out and as the tank, and I would switch to play support in order to provide better heals, because I recognized that as the tank, I wasn't getting healed enough. And if I wasn't getting healed enough, then I'm sure my teammates weren't either. So I switched to support to provide more heals, and we ended up winning. But I lost my MVP status. So I think that's what people need to understand, is that uh, you know, uh, when you're playing these games,
Step aside.
you're playing to win, right? I know that the performance based SR will give you more points if you're MVP, but at the end of the day, what you want more than anything is you want to win consistently. Uh, so, I for me, I focus on winning. I focus on the objective. I focus on doing cheeky things like body blocking
Here
and
they come
and
now.
blocking heals and spawn camping, all those things, all the different tactics I use to try and like win the game. Uh, and I think for a lot of other people, they just don't understand how games works. These shooters work, so they look at the KD and they're like, "Well, I killed a bunch of people, and my team still lost, so it clearly wasn't my fault." It's like, right, but did you stop the objective from moving? Did you stall it out? Like, did you pull the attention of their supports multiple times? You can get a bunch of kills, but if you never stop the convoy, from moving, then what did it matter, right? You can have 50 kills and 24 deaths, and you might be the reason why your team lost because of the fact that you
You're
died so
mine.
much, because you weren't alive to contest the objective. Uh, and that's something that like that's the reason why like hero shooters breed this like toxicity in people, is because it's very easy to look at the scoreboard and say, well, it's not my fault because here's my score, but you're lacking the context there, right? You're lacking the understanding of how the game works, because
Here they come now.
it's not about the kills. The kills are not the thing that I focus on the most. I do a lot of cheeky things in order to try and win, and I think more people
You're mine.
should do the same. More people should focus on the objective, because the majority of players, they stagger, they trickle out of spawn, uh, they die too much. Like, when I tell you that kills don't matter but deaths do, like that's the truth. Like, if if you get if you get 5 kills in a fight, but it was none of them were the first kill, then you didn't carry that fight. But if you die one time and you're the first death, you're the reason why your team lost that fight. It is so important in these games to stay alive, because if you can stay alive, you can pull attention, you can pull resources, you can stall the objective. There's so many more things that you can provide value on that are not measured by the scoreboard if you're alive. But if you
Here they come
die,
now.
if you are the first person to die, you put your team in a 6v5 scenario where they're most likely going to lose that matchup, right? So that's the reason why, to me, I don't measure someone's value and how much they're providing by how many kills they have. I look at how many deaths they have, right? If if you have the most kills on my team, but you also have double everyone else's deaths, are actually, hurting our chances of winning more than you are helping. And that's the problem with these hero shooters, is that it's so easy to look at the scoreboard and just only look at the kills and think that you're doing a lot. Uh, and I can tell you from everybody I've seen from Reddit who posts their stuff online and shows me their scoreboard, every single person I've gone and watched their replays, there are countless mistakes of where they are dying and they're not focusing on the objective, and they just spam a bunch of damage to get a bunch of kills after the fight's already over. And that's what happens. And, because of this misunderstanding of how the game is
The
played,
enemy has arrived.
you get people who are blaming the game, blaming the matchmaking, blaming the system, blaming the mythical EOMM matchmaking system, like, finding any excuse they can other than admitting that there were things that they did wrong in those games. And that, to me, is a problem, because you have all of this toxicity in which everyone is taking it out on each other, but nobody understands how the game is played. They're looking at the scoreboard and they're not reading it correctly. And ultimately, like, yeah, that does push players out of the game. The toxicity does. There's times where, for sure, I see a bunch of toxicity in game and I just want to hop off because I don't really want to deal with it, right? And I think that's true, but I also think it's true that there's a lot of there's a lot of players that are just leaving because I think that Marvel Rivals has, I think it was such a great game and so popular in the beginning that people got too much of it too fast, right? So the combination of that, the combination of the toxicity, and the combination of the EOMM conspiracy theories has eventually has pushed people out of the game, and that's the reason why the player base has dropped the way that it is, but the way that it has. But I don't think the game is dying, right? Like, it still has lots of players, it still has lots of people playing.
Step aside.
And I think that it is actually in a very healthy state. I think matchmaking for ranked is actually pretty good. Matchmaking for quick play is kind of garbage, though. I will admit that if you play quick play and you're frustrated with matchmaking, I will give that to you. That one is kind of trash. I don't enjoy that one. But for ranked and everything else, like, it's actually pretty even. It's just about, if you understand how the game is played and you understand how to control the objective and control the momentum, and you understand how hero shooters work, it feels pretty fair all around, from playing support to playing tank to playing DPS. I just like playing hero shooters, and I haven't had a problem this season. I've enjoyed a lot of it. Other than a couple of, like I said, those team up abilities, which are just bad game design. Like, it's not even like they're unbalanced. It's just bad game design. And that any issue I have with these hero shooters, a lot of times it's not balance. It's bad game design. I can deal with balance issues. You just tweak a couple of numbers and things can get better.
Enemy has arrived.
Being able to shoot through walls is not good game design. So yeah, that being said, I think that overall the game is actually pretty good. I think it's pretty fair. I don't really feel like, in the games that I play in ranked that I lose, I don't feel like there wasn't something I could have done better in order to turn that game around, right? I don't feel like my teammates are so bad every single game that the games aren't winnable.
Step aside.
I don't see the same things that everyone else sees, and I still stick it out. I play my games, I don't surrender, and I win a lot of my games. So yeah, like, and the games that I lose, I can easily see the areas I could have improved and could have done better, and what I could have done to possibly turn those games around. So yeah, I know that there's a lot of negativity online, but just like the reaction to, like, the Psylocke nerfs when it first happened, I didn't necessarily agree with the Psylocke nerfs the way that, they targeted her, but also at the same time, I don't think they're that bad, right? I know a lot of people thought that she was going to be dead, but she's not. She went from, you know, S tier hero to like A tier hero. She's still really, really good. If you're good at playing Psylocke, you're still good at playing Psylocke. Like,
You're mine.
she's definitely not a bad pick. And I think that is a good example of how online you're going to see a lot of very sensationalist, like huge reactions of just being like, oh, this hero's gutted now, it's terrible. And I don't think it's that bad, right? Sure, there's some heroes that might be a little weaker than they should be, but in terms of how their kit plays, it might not. I don't think it's actually that bad. In terms of how the game plays, I don't think it's that bad. In terms of the matchmaking, I really don't think it's that bad. If you're in ranked, it's probably the fairest experience that I've been able to see. And uh, yeah, I think that's sort of like my feelings on the matter is that it's the reaction to all the changes and everything was a bit of an overreaction, and I think that 2.5 is a lot of fun. I think it plays really well, and as long as you ban Hawkeye and Storm, then I think that you're probably gonna have a pretty good time, you know, playing the game. But you know, outside of that, like quick play and stuff, I will say that quick play matchmaking is that to me is tilting. Nothing will I won't get tilted in rank, but I will get tilted when I'm playing quick play and I don't understand like how all my teammates seem to be on a different page, and it's because you know I've got a gold, a platinum, a GM, and me and Celestial all in the same team. You know, against like two Celestials and a GM, like it just doesn't add up. And like I understand that they're just trying to get people in the game quickly, but I do feel like there is something a little bit wrong with like the quick
The
play
enemy has
matchmaking.
arrived.
And that being said, they need to remove the bot matches. Like you know, I know people have been saying that for a while, but that is something that's true. Like, you know, I don't believe that
You're
I don't
mine.
believe in EOMM. I don't believe that the bot, you know, that there's any proof of that, especially given the fact that the game doesn't seem that addicting, right? With that many players that are leaving. So I think the bot matches are also proof of that. Like bot matches just piss people off and they need to remove that stuff already. So if they can improve the quick play experience, I think that that would help this game and let it go a long way. But also, what could really help this game is helping teach the players how to actually play the game, teach the players how to play around the objective, and teach the players how to have better control over their games. Because that's ultimately what I've always been trying to do with my videos. Is I've been trying to teach you how to have control over your games. Because the biggest problem with hero shooters is that they're not as easily understood. It's not like Counter Strike, Call of Duty, where more
The
kills
enemy has
equal good.
arrived.
It's all about how you use your abilities, how you rotate, and you know how you control that objective that matters the most. Uh, so yeah, that you know if they can find ways to incorporate that kind of stuff into the game and fix these issues, then I think that Marvel Rivals can do a lot better. Uh, but yeah, I know that there's a lot of people who probably have, you know, very negative feelings towards Marvel Rivals, the same way as people did towards like Overwatch. But in terms of like the how much fun Marvel Rivals is in comparison to Overwatch, like I still think Marvel Rivals is a lot more fun to play than Overwatch, and I still think that this game has a lot of potential. Um, so yeah, that's all I really got to say on the matter. Let me know if you feel any different, if you think that you know some changes were a little bit too far, or you know, if some people's kits like Iron
You're
Fist
mine.
or Thor, which they kind of reworked, or Jeff, which they kind of reworked, you know, were are not as much fun or more fun. You know, let me know how you're feeling on your thoughts on that because I don't really play those heroes, so I don't want to comment on that stuff specifically. But I also understand that if you know, sometimes game studios you rework a hero that you love and it's no longer fun anymore. Um, and it kind of convinces you to stop playing. Like I totally understand if that's how you feel too. Uh,
You're mine.
so yeah, let me know your thoughts, let me know your feelings, and yeah, that's all I got to say on this one. So you know, thanks for watching.